again, is what Stephen Covey teaches us about the continuum of life, right? He talks about the continuum of life is we all come into life very dependent, right? And as we're from dependency, we grow into independency, where we can do things on our own. That's when we say we are 19, we are, young adults, we are now free, teen, all of that stuff. Then being independent will go into what we call interdependent. That even though I can do everything on my own, I realize that there's only so much I can do on my own. I need to probably join with someone else to be able to go further than I can go on my own, right? So from moving from dependent to independent, right, it's a normal process. But at the independent level, there's a choice to be made. And that choice is go to what we call interdependent. That even though I can do all things by myself, I realize to go to another level of performance, I need to join with either one or more people. Therefore, I choose to go into a relationship. I choose to submit myself to that relationship, whereby, or partnership or marriage, whereby then I go to another level of life. Some of that is represented by marriage. Some of that is just partnership and all of that stuff. But that's a continuum of life, right? Dependent, independent, interdependent, right? And not everybody goes through that. That's the normal process of maturity. But you find some people get into the place where interdependence is expected of them, but they're not independent, right? If you're not independent, you cannot successfully enter into an interdependent relationship, right? So that's why people go into our relationship and there's a kid in the relationship. There's a kid in the marriage, right? Someone is a parasite, right? Because when you go into an interdependent relationship, you should go into it as someone who is willing to contribute. You go into it for what you can contribute, not what you can get, right? Even though you're supposed to get something from it, because both or more parties should come in to contribute, right? But when you have someone that is not contributing, that just wants to get from every other person, a parasite, then there's a problem in that relationship, right? And it doesn't work effectively well. Chidi, any question for me? Any remark you want to say before I go on?
No, I'm just listening and enjoying the talk.
All right, great. All right, so that's pretty much it. So in our journey in talking about how all of this affects our relationship with money, we first of all started from the family sector, how being within our parents, our siblings, how that affects us. Our origin affects us, right? That's our immediate family, right? Then from that, we talk about how our community, people outside our immediate family, affects us, right? And you'll find that how the community affects us, either positive or negative, is built on the foundation of the relationship with your parents. If that relationship is strong, then you're able to get more from the community because you're able to then throw away the negatives and imbibe the positive. But if that relationship is weak, then you are more open to the negatives in the community because you don't have the strength to defend yourself from the negative in the community, right? And so the very core foundation is your parents, your origin, your immediate family. Upon that is built your relationship in your community where you grew up. Then upon this too is built then the society as a whole, right? Your ability to succeed in the society, in the bigger sphere of things, is built on the foundation with which you come into it from your immediate family and your community. If that foundation is strong, then you're set up for success. If it's weak, then you're set up for failure. Even though that is not the end of things, you can always rebuild yourself. You can also always recreate yourself. You need to change, right? So some people feel at that point and feel, oh, woe me, right? But until you say woe me and you choose not to recreate yourself, there's always opportunity for you to break through, right? So, hey, Toba, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, great, great. We're on to chapter 9 today, looking at society. So when we talk about society, we're talking about the things that run, the rules, the regulations, the laws around that regulate our relationship as a society. Society then goes beyond your immediate community into your state, your nation, the rules of engagement. Those will affect whether you are going to be able to easily make money or not, right? Generally speaking, it's easier to make money in a capitalist system than in anything less than a capitalist system. So that's why you see a lot of people migrate to the US. In the US, the way the financial environment is set up, right? It's set up to reward hard work, right? And it's set up to punish laziness, right? If you can get, there's no limit to how far you can get, how high you can get, and there's no limit to how low you can get, right? The system allows the two spectrums. I mean, you can easily become homeless and you are not be able to be a beggar. You can also easily rise to the top, right? So the US, it's like your epitome of a place of the marketplace where the laws, the rules allow you to become whoever it is that you want to become. That's called the American dream, right? In some other places, there are limitations to that happening. However, there are still ways to overcome those limitations. It's not a hell spell. It's not a doom spell, right? Even though they might not necessarily be as perfect a marketplace as a capitalist system like the US, there are still ways around every system because the laws of success, the laws of prosperity are universal. They are not limited to the US, Nigeria. They are universal. So you can then align the laws of success, the laws of prosperity to fit the environment you find yourself, right? So pretty much today we're just going to look at, one of the key things when we talk about society, the laws and all of that is most places have what we call, everybody is divided into what we call a social economic class, right? From a finance standpoint, you look at people are pretty much divided into social economic class, right? Such division could be, it's mainly by how much money you had, really. It could also be by family, it could be by education, it could be like kind of job you do, or membership to any particular place. In most places, you have about 3 to 6 classes. Typically, generally, you pretty much have 3, but you see that those 3 have been broken down in different places just to differentiate some other people. In the UK, you actually have 7. You have 7 classes because the royal family stands alone as a class on its own. But in most places, you have 3 to 6 class of people in a social economic setting, right? Pretty much the easy 3 would be the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class, right? But that is rare. In most places, you have more than that. In the US, you have 5. In Nigeria, you have 6, right? So typically, you have what we call the upper class, which are pretty much, they've blown themselves. They are rich, millionaires, billionaires, so you also have what we call the upper middle class, right? People that are well educated, they're wealthy, right? Maybe they're not millionaires, but they're wealthy. They're able to afford everything that they need, right? You also have what you call the middle class, right? People that have just gone to school, they have white collar jobs, they don't have to rough it up, they go to offices, they get a salary every month. There's what we call the lower middle class. This is absent in the US, in US classification, though you can still cut some people to fall into this class. They are what we call the lower middle class in Nigeria. And number 5, you have what we call a working class, right? Which are not middle class. They are clerical, they're people that carry files, government workers will fall within this category. You know, it could also be blue collar jobs, you know, workers, you know, they are there in the field, you know, get some labor, maybe laborers or so. And also, and finally, on the sixth category, we have what we call the lower class, which are people who are maybe unemployed, you know, beggars, or, you know, there's no job is assured, right? Any comment on this classification?
No, no.